everyone. This is Sam and Sonia with another episode of Heal the Divide. Today we have our next person who's going to tell us their story. Why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure, yeah. My name's Kimberly Roberts, and I live in Lexington. I am definitely an example of don't judge a book by its cover. A lot of people have no idea what it is that I do for a living, and it's kind of unique. I'm the only person in the state of South Carolina that has the exact job that I have. I'm a South Carolina artist in residence, and for literary arts and for music, and what that basically means is I travel our great state of South Carolina, performing for festivals and school assemblies, working with school children, working with senior adults, and spreading the arts, sharing that joy with them. And my particular area, in addition to poetry for the literary arts, is Caribbean steel drums. And that's actually my wheelhouse. This is my steel drum here. A lot of people aren't quite sure what a steel drum is. They're becoming more and more popular as time goes on, but I'll play it just very quickly for you guys.
Right.
So you can see.
Mention your website.
What's that?
Mention your website
Oh,
for folks to, because I knew nothing. This is Sonia speaking, by the way. I knew nothing of this sort of art and music until we talked. And of course, I looked up your website. So tell everybody what your website is.
Sure.
So they can visit.
I am the director and lead performer for one of the longest running steel bands in the southeastern United States. I've done this since I was 19, and this is about to be our 30th year in business. Amazing. And it's called the Pantasia Steel Band. So our website's just www.pantasiasteelband.com. So yeah, thank you. But in addition to being an artist in residence, I'm also a published children's book author, a published composer, and I helped design, and I was an educational consultant for a student-sized steel drum that is now sold internationally. And I think probably the most exciting thing that I've done career-wise was in 2016, I was invited by a British international school in Hong Kong to teach in Hong Kong for 2 weeks, and I had the opportunity to bring the steel drum to the very first, set up the very first student steel band in the country of Hong Kong. So
Amazing.
That was really exciting.
That is absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
I'm so glad to hear about
Did you mention that you are the artist in residence? Tell everybody about
Yeah,
that.
I am one of the artists in residence for our state. There are many artists in residence in different art disciplines, whether it be theater, literature, visual arts, performing arts, just the whole spectrum of the arts. I have done that. I've been listed with the South Carolina Arts Commission, oh my goodness, I think since 1998. And the band's been around since 94. And we're just independent contractors and go around to wherever wants us and needs us. In addition to that, I kind of pivoted during COVID when those teaching and performing opportunities weren't available. And I also have a dual certification in health and wellness coaching and life coaching. And I'll probably talk a little bit about how that pivot took place and why.
That sounds like a great place to start.
Okay,
This is about healing the divide, and we want to hear what you want people to know about you.
Yeah, sure. So, healing the divide really speaks to me because in addition to what I do for a living, I'm also a chronically ill person, and just looking at me, a lot of people would not realize that. A third of my income goes to out-of-pocket medical expenses, so that's kind of how significant it is. Just had spine injections Friday, sleep doctor Monday. I've got another doctor's appointment tomorrow and 2 on Friday. So once again, I'm a good example.
A lot of people can relate, will be able to relate.
Right.
And appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah, I'm definitely a don't judge a book by its cover. I don't look ill. I don't act ill. And a lot of times people who are chronically ill are accused of faking illness, but I would say that more often than not, we fake being well.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
As someone with a chronic
We fake
So
being
well
well.
said. And that is, you hit the nail on the head.
Yeah. So I guess the Healing the Divide speaks to me because as somebody with an autoimmune condition, my body fights itself every day. Like, I'm always fighting something. I'm fighting my body's fighting me. And there's just so much hurt in the world, and honestly, people not getting along for no good reason. And that being Mr. Kennedy's, one of his slogans, really spoke to me. And he's mentioned several times in the town halls that I've been to about, corruptness and people jingling the keys, like, look over here, don't look at what we're doing, look at this over here, we want you to fight. And we all know that what's going on.
Right.
Yeah, but I guess another thing that speaks to me as far as Heal the Divide goes is, we've got Republicans and Democrats, black people, white people, poor, rich. People are always trying to put people in boxes. And I'm not somebody that fits in a box. I'm 48, I have no kids. I have a very unconventional job. I think the whole notion of fighting against being put in a box started kind of early for me. When I was in college, I was the only female in my major at the time. When I started, I was the only female percussionist. There were 27 guys and me. So that was a box that I kind of pushed back and did something a little bit different. And so I guess where I want to go with the talk today is not letting yourself be put in a box, and then also what do you do in life when something gets thrown at you and you have to pivot. So if that's okay, I'll go those two directions.
Go for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Need to hear this, yes.
Okay. So up until college, I wanted to be an elementary school music teacher. That was my dream. I idolized my elementary school music teacher. And I got to college, and I found out that musicians were going to be certified K-12 in whatever your area was. So, but you wouldn't be qualified K-12. And what I mean by that is, as a percussionist, I was going to be pushed into the box of band director. I would student teach a middle school band, I would student teach in high school band, but I knew that was not me, and I knew that's not what I wanted to do. So in order to get all the elementary classes I needed to be an effective elementary school teacher, I had to double major. And I did percussion performance and choral music ed. Choral, not necessarily a box I'm good at being put in, but had to get the training I needed. So I think something that really stood out in my mind is my last year of college. I was getting ready for one of my recitals, and I was having a real hard time of it. I was taking way too many hours. I was trying to be all and do all, and I was struggling in one of my lessons, and my percussion professor got very frustrated with me. He threw down his notebook, and he just glared at me and said, "None of this matters anyway. You're just going to get out and make babies."
Wow.
Now, keep in mind, this was like, 25 years ago. Things were a little different.
Right.
He'd probably be fired nowadays with the way things are,
True.
but
Wow.
and that
What a
really,
statement.
it was quite the statement. It kind of hit me hard because I was like, but am I? No, that's not a box I want to be put in. And certainly not to say anything against motherhood. But that was not a box I wanted to be put in. And I thought, and what am I doing here all these years I've been in college if he thinks I'm just going to get out and have kids and be a homemaker and not use this training that I have. So that was an interesting, eye-opening statement that he made. It was very shocking. And then I got out. I got an elementary school job, absolutely loved it. I was out to set the world on fire in the world of elementary music education.
So how old were you at that time?
At that time, I was mid-20s.
Okay.
mid-20s. I started a steel band at my school, which was kind of unheard of back then. There just weren't steel bands in schools. Started a couple ensembles. And then my third year of teaching, we got a new principal. And another statement I will never forget, once again, putting people in boxes and labeling. Our new principal came in, our first teacher work day of the year. It was July 30th. I remember the date. And she said, "Art, music, PE, you are only here because the state tells me you have to be." Another shocking. And I thought,
How demoralizing.
what does that even mean? Right? She said, "If you're not teaching reading and writing and higher level thinking skills, you do not fit in with the program of this school and our purpose." I thought, this individual does not know about the arts, because there's plenty of higher level thinking skills going on with that.
It helps you. Am I right? I mean, it helps you, a person.
Just quality of life,
access
even.
those.
Yeah, right. And
it's equally as important.
exactly.
Shocking again.
So yes, another shocking statement I remember. And by this point in time in my life, I had needed to take some prescription medication, just for some chronic things I had going on, some stomach issues. And at that point in time, my health completely fell apart, as well as the art teacher's health completely fell apart. And by the end of the year, 2 of us had already left on medical leave. And at the end of the year, the entire special areas team quit. So that was another pivotal moment in my life. And it's kind of where my health took a downturn. And so then I had to learn to pivot. And I said, okay, what am I going to do now? My whole life was built up. I was going to be an elementary school music teacher. This is what I wanted to do. This is who I felt I was. So, okay, I'm already associated with the Arts Commission, and let me go do my own thing. So I came up with programs that I could share with schools, and I thought, at least in that capacity, when I'm invited to come to a school, they appreciate the arts because they've invited me in. So they see the value of it. So I went on to do that. But slowly over time, my health was just getting worse and worse and worse. More medication, more doctors. They couldn't figure out what was wrong. And that kind of became my all-consuming thing. So I started to then, at that point in time, fit into the box of chronically ill person. And now here we are, almost 30 years later. And it turns out a medication that I was prescribed for 18 years, they now know you are only supposed to take for 18 months. And I have a degradation of my spine, arthrosis, spinal injections. I can't eat without taking digestive enzymes before every meal.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I've got a lot of interesting things. I have narcolepsy with cataplexy. Yeah. And I have something called visual snow syndrome, which a lot of people haven't heard of. I was actually...
I haven't. Tell us.
Yeah, so I was part of an international study done a couple years ago, maybe 6 or 7 years ago, to figure out what visual snow is. If you ever see a TV station where the channel's kind of off, it's got the fuzzy snow on it, I see that over top of my normal vision 24/7, and I have for maybe 15 or 16 years. It's constant. But I was actually part of an international study to determine what in the world is this, what is different about my brain than somebody else's or whatever. So it's a newly discovered thing. But I bring all that up to point out again that everybody's fighting and heal the divide and all that. There is no reason to not be kind to someone just because you think you know them. Nobody could look at me and have any clue the health that I have going on. And I think we get in a dangerous place when everybody starts to assume that they know who you are and what you do. And the other thing I want to add to that is there's actually a quote by Martin Luther King, if I can include that. One of the ways I helped kind of heal my mind was by writing some poetry, some pretty dark poetry, but in my poem itself, I kind of asked, what is strength? And in my poem, I wrote, it's when you're so tired that fatigue gnaws at your bones and you can only make it up the stairs if you crawl, so you crawl. It's when it hurts to run, so you walk. It hurts to walk, so you stand. It hurts to stand, so you sit. It hurts to sit, so you sleep. Sleep hurts, but you try. And that's just a snippet of what I wrote. And then later I found a quote by Martin Luther King that I'm so excited, it's so similar. But he said, if you can't fly, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. Whatever you do, you have to keep moving forward. And the end of my poem, I actually put always forward, never back. So
that was beautiful.
Thank you.
It was beautiful.
Thank you. You're welcome to read the whole thing, but
it's hard to, as someone who writes poetry myself, it's very hard to share those inner thoughts that come from your heart for fear that you'll be, judged a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's very private, so that was really brave of
Thank
you.
you. Thank you. At this point in time, I've been through so much that and here's another takeaway from this. I'm not one that believes in finding the silver lining, because sometimes there just simply is not one. There's not a silver lining, and it's toxic positivity to think that there's good in every that there's good in every situation. There's not. There's not.
Sister.
But if you want to try to make sense of bad that has happened to you, find someone who will not go through that bad because you did. Later in, during the pandemic, I pivoted again, and I'm shaking, sorry. I pivoted again during the pandemic and got my certification in health and wellness and life coaching, because I thought, I have been through a lot of bad things, health and otherwise, things that, we don't even have time to go into, but I thought, I can't fix what happened to me. I can't even heal myself at this point in time. Some of the things I have going on, there is no cure, there is no treatment. If I can prevent somebody else from going through it, or help someone else understand their situation, and give them some hope from that, then what I went through was not for nothing. And I don't know, that's
You're giving people hope. We appreciate this.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you'd like to add?
I would say that there's another quote I like. It was incorrectly attributed, I think, to Theodore Roosevelt. Something to the effect of do what you can, when you can, where you can, with what you have, kind of quote. There is always more that you, me, whoever's watching this can do to help make this place a better place. We get wrapped up into who the next president is going to be. Of course, in my case, I hope it's Mr. Kennedy. He is our best option, and I would encourage people to go in that direction if that's not where you're already headed. But it does not matter as much who our next president is as it matters our personal mindset and where our thoughts are. And I would say, if you can't walk, then you crawl. And if you can't fly, then you walk. You always have to move forwards. And if you can't help yourself, try to find somebody else that can learn from what you've been through, that can benefit from what you've been through, because we can't heal the bigger divides of Republican, Democrat, black, white, poor, rich, whatever, until we are in a comfortable enough place in ourselves that we have some sort of healing to offer. So we just have to get right with ourselves. We have to, we just have to find a way to go on and help people in our own ways, even though, we're not powerful politicians, or, we might not be in a position where we can exact change on, whole towns or whole counties or our country. But you can do something to change somebody else's perspective and help them and make sense of anything bad that you've been through. But I could talk all day.
That's absolutely beautiful. Here, give me a hug.
Okay. I could talk all day, ladies.
Thank you so much
You
for
are
sharing
welcome.
your story. I really appreciate it. Well, guys, that concludes Kimberly's story. I hope you join us for another episode sometime soon. Thank you very much, Kimberly.
Thank you. And oakgrovecoaching.com. Thanks, guys.